The super gave me a weird look when I asked about the place. You sure you want to move in there? You and your girlfriend? You should have thought about that before signing the lease. It's kratom no mind. I was just happy to get an apartment in such a nice building for such a low price. It was a steal. And the super was being super, if you know what I mean. It wasn't until I moved all my stuff in and settled down that I heard it. I was chilling on the couch watching TV when I heard it. At first I thought it was coming from the TV. It sounded like a woman sobbing uncontrollably. Then I realized it was coming from the vents. I went over to the vents and listened. There was definitely something there. I could hear her sniffling, and then she would start sobbing again. Over and over and over. This went on for hours. Couldn't take it anymore. It's called the super, but he just shrugged me off. I ended up calling the police. They came and they searched the apartment, but they didn't find anything. They checked all the apartments above and below me, but they didn't find anything. They even brought a thermal imaging camera and checked the walls, but they didn't find anything. They told me that if it was coming from another apartment, they would have easily found something. And since they didn't, it must be in my head. I knew they were right, so I didn't fight them on it. I just watched them leave. I tried to distract myself with some takeout and a movie. But every time I'd try to focus on the movie, I would hear her sniffling, and then the sobs would start again. That's when I decided to check out the apartment myself. As I walked down the hall to apartment 9B, I noticed that all the apartment numbers seemed to skip from 8 to 10. What happened to 9A, 9B, and 9C? Was there some kind of fire or something? Never thought of that before. But now it was on my mind. Stopped at apartment 9B and knocked on the door. No answer. I tried the doorknob. It was locked. According to the super, all the apartments in the building were occupied except for 9B. And that apartment had been empty for more than 10 years because a guy jumped off the balcony after killing his wife and kids. That's why the numbers skipped. The building owner didn't want to deal with the bad vibes, so they just covered up the 9B, 9C, and 9D entrances and left it vacant. Being a skeptic, I figured it was just an old wives' tale. Was probably just some creepy old building gossip. I let out a breath and started to knock on the door. Knock, knock, no answer. I knocked again, louder this time. Still no answer? Maybe I should call the cops and see if they can force entry. As I reached for my phone, the door handle started to turn. I froze. Who was out there? The door opened slowly, and I took a step back. No one was outside the door. The apartment was empty. I walked in cautiously. The apartment was filthy. Trash was everywhere. There was a thick layer of dust on everything. It looked like a bomb went off in here. The windows were boarded up. There was a big hole in the wall, and it looked like someone had been clawing at it. I pulled out my phone and shined the light into the hole. That's when I saw it. There were fresh claw marks on the inside of the wall. This place was supposed to be empty. I felt a chill go down my spine. I ran out of there and called the cops. This time they actually did something. They brought in a team to tear down the walls, and they found audio equipment hidden behind the wall. Apparently, the guy used to record himself and his family. He was planning on releasing the tapes after he killed his wife. The police also found some of his writings where he talked about how he heard voices in the apartment above him and how he could untake it anymore. He said he was going to kill his family and then jump off the balcony. And that's when it hit me. The voice in the vents wasn't from another apartment. It was coming from apartment 9B. But how? I played the recording of his voice, and it wasn't just him talking. I could hear my own voice screaming in pain and fear. I tried to convince myself that it was just a coincidence, but deep down I knew better. That was the last straw. I packed up all my things, and I got out of there. Now, whenever I hear a strange noise at night, I think it might be apartment 9B trying to tell me that it wants me back. Or maybe it doesn't want me to be alone.